Hey stamping friends, welcome to the Joy of Stamping with Rachel. I'm Rachael Coon and today is Wednesday's kit class. We're going to go ahead and make some Christmas cards today using our Curvy Christmas stamp set that just came available yesterday and also went on back order yesterday. Go ahead and hold while I flip and I'll explain how this class works. All right, so we have 4 card designs today. I'm super excited to show you. Let me get this nice and square so you guys can see everything. Okay, hopefully. And these cards are super fun and they are using brand new product, which is always fun to have. And I've set it up in a way where we have a beginners, a casual stampers, and an avid stampers style of card with the stamp set. I'll be using the Curvy Christmas stamp set. And like I said, this just came available yesterday and also went unavailable. Well, it's on back order now until the 16th. So you could order this today as part of your $35 order in order to get the kit for free. And you will just have to wait until November 16th for it to be shipped to you. And this one coincides with the quite curvy stamp set. And this one has dies that coordinate with both. Let me show you those dies real quick. You open inside. And this is the one that I used mostly for it. And I had a Post-it note on it. Can you see that kind of? And that was on there for me to know which side has the cutting side and which side has these little holes that we want on there as well. So if I were to cut out a piece, one side would still be curvy on that side, and this side would be curvy with the holes. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second of how that looks. I also use this cute little sprig right here, and these are some other curves dies, and these ones are the ones that will cut out the images from the stamp set. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our beginner's card first. I'm fighting the sunlight today. Now that we have that time change, it makes my natural lighting go away a lot sooner. So I will try not to rush you, but I might lose some of this natural lighting. So we'll see how fast we can go. All right. So before I get started, make sure I remind you how my class works. I said a little bit before, but if you spend $35 between now and Friday, you get all the paper stuff in this kit for free. I'll send that to you after you've placed your order using the hostess code. So make sure you use that hostess code that was linked above as well. Okay, you guys ready? So this one is really simple. So I have our card base, which I have it opening in an untraditional way, and I've kept it at the 11 by 4 1/4 and scored it at the 5 1/2. So that's our card base. And then I would put an insert as well in these. I don't have any in mind today because I am really low on my Whisper White and my order doesn't come in until tomorrow. All right, so then we have a piece of DSP, and I have it at a 4 by 5 and a 1/4, and then I have a piece that I've already cut out with that curvy die that has the stitched out look right here, those little circles, and I've cut it so that way it measures the same as across here, that 5 1/4. We're going to go ahead and stamp this one first. I'm using the shaded spruce, and that's one of the items. If you don't have this color, our stamp pads are $7.50, and I would suggest getting this one as part of an item so that you can finish this kit properly and have the colors matching. That's one of the best things I love about Stampin' Up! Is their coordinating colors. Let me go ahead and grab my foam mat. I'm going to stick this right underneath today for our stampings underneath my grid paper. You can kind of see that rising. There we go. It's just so I can stamp off a little bit and not get too crazy. All right, so here I have the saying, "May your days be merry and bright." I'm just going to go ahead and ink that up in that shaded spruce. Make sure it's nice and good. And I'm going to follow the curve of this one. Line it up and press down and lift back up. That turned out great. And then we're going to get our really cool little sprig. I call it, like a pine tree branch. And we're going to just make 2 of these on here. And this one I cut a little bit shorter, so I don't need as much of our sprigs in this one. We'll go a little bit right there. And I'll have another one coming up on this side. Let's go. I can see on that one I was missing a little bit of ink. Okay. So right about there. That's looking pretty great. I'm going to close my inks. So those are only 3 stamps. You can kind of see why this is a beginner one, and it doesn't require too much. Next, we're going to go ahead and put some dimensionals on the back of our curvy piece that we just stamped on. And we want to have some following these curves, so that way it's supported. So about 6 would be good. We'll grab our DSP, and we're just going to put that and line it up just over it like that. Go ahead and take off the backings. All right, be sure to say hi today if you're watching. I love seeing your comments and reading them afterwards. Sometimes I don't have a chance to read them all as I'm stamping, but I do like to read them afterwards and see what your thoughts were, if you have the stamp set, if you're planning on getting the stamp set, and things that you are learning. All right, so I am using also the new paper. It's called Classic Christmas. I suggest that one also if you're want to get this kit for free, to order that paper. It's $11.50, and it's a 6x6 set of paper. That's really nice and has great Christmas colors. Oh, it makes it fun. All right, this one's almost done. We just are going to embellish a little bit with these wonderful gems. See that one? Okay, there we go. We'll put just a handful, maybe just 3 again. Kind of get them in there. And 1 at the end over here. And there we go. We have a simple stamping card for a beginner that doesn't take too much time. And honestly, this one would be great to mass produce and make for a lot of Christmas cards, which if you're like me, you always are making more than just 1 card. So it's a nice, easy, fast one. The hardest part would just be cranking out that curvy die. All right, you guys ready for the next one? So this is more for the casual stamper, and it looks like this. And we're using the scraps of paper that you can cut off from that pretty DSP. Let me get everything we need for it. All right, so we have our card base. Again, I'm going back a little bit untraditional, and I'm having it by the 11 by the 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. But we're going to flip it this direction this time instead of this direction that we had for that other card. That's a fun thing about these cards, that you can switch it up super easily just by turning. Let's go ahead and do our stamping first. We're going to stamp our little stars using the Daffodil Delight. Right there. And there's 2 little stars in this stamp set. And there's also like a string of stars as well. We are just going to use the little stars right now. We have a little tiny one and that one right there. And I started with the big one first. And I'm going to kind of go in a line from here to there to the bottom. And ink it up and just turn my stamp a little bit as I go down. And some of these might get covered up by our paper, or a little bit we're going to stamp some more of those fun pine trees sprigs, but that's okay. Now we're going to go ahead and stamp with the little one. Just kind of keep it going at angles and kind of have some a little bit closer. There's no rhyme or reason. And that's the best part about this. Each time I make this card, it will be totally different because I can stamp with them in different spots. Okay, that looks pretty good. Lots of stars there. And now we're going to go ahead and stamp our Merry Christmas on our oval that I've cut out with the stitch shapes. And then also we're going to stamp our little sprigs. For both of those, we're using our shaded spruce. Again. And for our Merry Christmas, let me grab this one. There we go. So I'm trying to use a lot of the stamps from this one to show you how awesome it is. This one, you're going to stamp the Merry Christmas a little bit above and not so close to the bottom, because later we're going to attach our bow to right there in the bottom. All right, so for this part, what you want to do is now take your pieces of DSP that I have already cut out. I'll give you all the measurements over on my blog, so don't worry. I'm going to kind of line it up the way that I'm going to glue it down later. Kind of give me a space idea. Kind of like that, not too bad. Then what I'm going to do is grab my pencil, and I'm going to mark my top, I'm going to mark my bottom, like that. See that, I'm sure. Right there and right there, I just marked it, and I'll take off my pieces. Then I'm going to grab my little sprig right here, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it so that way I have some of it coming up over that line I just made with a pencil. So there's that one. And then I want 2 of them coming down from here. This one looks a little bit longer than what my sprigs are going to want to, or my piece of paper are going to cover. So what I'm going to do is go over and just wipe off some of that ink. Real quick, just like that. And I just have a damp, reusable wipe that I just used. So I'm going to go right about here. There we go. And then this one, we're not going to worry about because it's going to go over onto our grid paper. There we go. Okay. It's looking pretty awesome. Now we just need to add our pieces of paper. Now you want to start from the top and work your way down. And I like to use that liquid glue for this one, just so it gives me the wiggle that I need. And make sure that I line it up against that edge. And you don't need very much glue on these strips because when they are pushed down, the glue will squish to the sides, and we don't want it to squish out. So here was my pencil mark. Kind of line it up there, and I can erase that later, like that. And then we're going to take the green one, and we're just going to overlap it just a little bit on the one that we've already placed. Again, making sure your edges are meeting on that side right there. Line it up straight. There we go. So just a little bit. And the last one. Isn't this paper so fun? So it uses that cherry cobbler, the shaded spruce, and this is gray granite actually. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think this is Sahara sand. If I remember right, I think I wrote that down wrong earlier. I'll have to fix that. Yeah, I think that's Sahara sand, which is a pretty color that's not used nearly as often as it should be. All right, so we have that part now, and we have our oval. We're going to go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of this. Make sure you guys can still see okay. Oh, I see a couple people are here. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Let me know if you've gotten this stamp set before it sold out, or if you're a demonstrator and you were able to order it early. It went super fast. I think it surprised everyone. It's an awesome set though, so I can see why. So much fun. The funny thing is that I was not sold. Real quick, using the mini dimensionals on this when it first came out. It was okay. I wasn't super excited about it. I did think the dies are pretty awesome. But now that I played with it more and I've made these 4 cards, I'm really liking it. So hopefully that's the case for you guys too, that you see this one and you realize the set is just really nice and a great Christmas one to add to your collection. All right, so I've added those. So this bow I just cut out of our cherry cobbler, and I'd stamped it earlier also in cherry cobbler. However, if you don't have cherry cobbler, but you do have that shaded spruce, you could totally do that as well and just stamp it in that dark green and then fussy cut it out. And fussy cut, remember, means to cut with our paper snips because there's no die or punch for it. All right, let's close up this so we can be safe again. And we're almost there. I'm going to go ahead and attach my layers together, and then finally we will embellish. When we embellish, it makes the paper kind of bumpy, kind of like right now with our dimensionals there. And so I try to wait to embellish until the very end. Let's go ahead and add our green behind our white. And this is also another casual step when you're stamping, is the added layers. Beginner layers are cards that are a little bit more simple, don't need or have as many layers. But if you're a casual stamper, you have become pretty confident with your paper cutting skills and you like all the layers. All right, lastly, we're going to embellish with those wonderful gems again. And this time, though, we're going to go ahead and snag some of these gold ones. And we'll just kind of put them going up. Let's see if we can get that one off okay. Maybe. There we go. There's those two, and then we'll put a couple down here below. Just kind of making a trail following our stars. Right there. We can even add one more maybe to, let's stick one right here on that DSP. That looks awesome. All right, there we go. We have two of our Merry Christmas with the bow, and it is our casual stamper style of card. A little bit more directions than our beginners. All right, here comes another casual card. It looks like this. Has a couple layers, but mostly it also includes the fussy cutting right here of the trees, and it has us doing our embossing right there. This one's super fun though. Let me get it all for it. Okay. I've put all of our pieces folded inside our card bases, so hopefully I'm not missing anything today. Our card base is our regular size now. So we have our 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. We'll set that aside for a minute. And then we have our DSP, which is 4 by 5 1/4, going up that way. And you could flip it over and use either side. Because we already have trees on here, I went ahead and used these crisscross shapes. Then I have a 3 by 4 piece of DSP that we're using, and I like it this side because it looks like snow. This side also is awesome, but has the more like the holly sprigs on there. So that's what we're going to use as our base. I'm using that as a guide so I know how much space I need to use. You probably could get away with using, because you're only showing about 2 1/2 inches worth. So if you're short on paper, you can make this smaller as well. Okay. So this one is going to be up here like that. And this one is going to be down here on the bottom like that in just a minute. But first what we need to do is stamp some trees. So this is leftover pieces because when I make these, they cut off a curvy edge as well. And so I just cut out 3 by 4 pieces of Whisper White, and then I cut it down using the Curvy Die. I wanted that 3 by 4 to give me a reference of space, and it was really helpful. Let me go ahead and get this ink in here. We're using that shaded spruce again. It's such a great dark Christmas green. It really is wonderful. And we are going to cut them. First, we're going to stamp these, and I'm trying to figure out which ones. I think we're going to go with these guys right here. And ink it up just about half of it. We don't need the whole thing. And I'm going to make sure we go just about there. So we've stamped this one, and then we need to take our paper snips and fussy cut around it. And we actually had to get too crazy. What I did was just go down in the dips where it comes, where there's not a grouping of trees. And I'll come back up and do a couple little points right here. And we'll dip down again. And this really doesn't take too much time. It's just an added step and is a skill that more casual stampers and avid stampers use versus if you're just starting off. I'll get this one going. Hopefully our lighting is still okay. Let me know if it gets too dark and we'll flip on a light. I really try to use all the natural lighting because it looks best that way. But like I said, I might have to reschedule the times that we get together because of that change of time. Okay, so we have that piece. Now what we're going to do is grab our handy pencil again, and I'm going to mark on this one where the slope is for this one. So we want our trees to be there and about there. These ones won't show down there. We'll cover those ones up most likely, but let's go ahead and ink up our trees again. Let's see. Yep, if I go like that, it would fit. If I went like that, that could also fit. Let's go ahead and do that second half this time. Those other trees. we're going to start right there and put them on. And we'll only see a couple because of the way that paper curves, but it will be awesome. All right, now we can start attaching these with liquid glue. And by chance, if this one is too long, you could always trim it if you wanted to see more of these trees. Let's see. Oh, that's looking pretty good though. That looks awesome. Next, we'll do our trees right there. Our last piece of our snowy hill, I will use dimensionals though. That will make it really fun. All right, we'll have those trees just kind of coming up over there. I still want to make sure I can see those stitch holes right there. And then we'll add this one with dimensionals, and it'll be awesome. So I have to confess with this card really quick. I told you I'm pretty short on my Whisper White. I'm also really short on my linen thread. And I have it coming in, but it won't be here till tomorrow. And so I'm using some, what I would call my craft show thread. You'll notice it's a little bit different, and I don't like it as much because it has a lot of these wispies on it. You can kind of see. But I'll use it when I have to make things in bulk. So that is what I'm using right here. But know that I really wish I could be using my linen thread if I hadn't ran out. So you can wrap this around twice and either tie a bow or a knot. I did a knot earlier, and then I loosened it so that way the knot had some fringe to it. Let me see if I can have it enough. I can tie a little cute bow real quick. There we go. So we'll get our bow on this one. Grab my paper snips. See, it just doesn't look the same, huh? Oh, we're missing that linen thread today. And that's okay. All right, so I've already used our Heat and Emboss, and I've done our Merry Christmas on our strip of our cherry cobbler. And now what I'm going to do is grab my awesome banner pick-a-punch, I think it's called. I always get mixed up. It's either, I think it ends with, so banners, yeah, pick-a-punch, something like that. And we're going to flag it on the end. If you don't have this awesome punch, you could always grab your paper snips and take a cut in the middle and then work your way in on both sides, and that could flag it as well. But let me go ahead and show you how this one works. And if I was mass producing this card, I really would probably want to use something a little bit more accurate than this. Okay, so we push it in, and it has these grooves, so I know there's 1 inch, 3/4, and 1/2 inch. And I have it flipped over so I can look at it and see that it's lined up where I want it to be. And then we just punch it out like that. And we slide it back out. And then we're going to stick some dimensionals on this one. Let's go ahead and grab these ones right here. However, I have a part of it dangling on that side. So don't put a dimensional all the way to that end. I can hear all my neighbor dogs. I don't know if you can hear them today. They're out there. All right, we'll just kind of have it like that, have it go over the edge just a little bit, and we'll get ready to attach it to our card base and our DSP. We'll grab our card base right here. Make sure you guys can see that in view. And we'll liquid glue it down. For these ones, I just eyeball, and you want to make sure you have it, though, framing on all sides. So it looks like to be mostly equal. And then this one, we're going to use dimensionals on the back. Just put a couple here, probably about 5 center and 1 on each corner. We'll remove our backings, and then we'll flip it over. Okay. This one, again, you kind of just eyeball. If you wanted to use your grid to get a better alignment, you could. Remember, that's a 4 inches on this side, and this is 5.5. And kind of gives you a reference of space. So there we go. A super cute Christmas tree. Merry Christmas. So focus in on that better. There we go. And this is a casual stamper using that Curvy Christmas. All right, one last one to go. This one has all the layers. This is like all the stuff. Let me see if I can get close enough so you can see. All right, so we have 3 different inks. We have sprigs. We have, I think, 4 different dies. Maybe, oh, let's see. Yep, 4 different dies. This one's from the curvy. This is the oval, the stitched shapes. This is from our stars, our stitched stars. This is also a rectangle die that I used here. And of course, the rectangle die for our whisper white. I love this one because I've made the DSP look like the whole card front as well. And so there's no sides on this one, but it looks like this card has a completely covered card front. All right, if you guys can see that okay. I'm gonna try and debate if I want light, some more light. Hold on real quick, let me get some more light on. All right, hopefully that brighten it a little bit and we don't have too many shadows. All right, you guys ready for this last one? This one's super fun, and this is the Avid. This is the stamper that has all of the supplies in their craft room already, or is collecting all of them. So this is a very pretty card, but it does require a lot of layers and a lot of steps. The first thing I want to show you about this one, which is really neat, and I had an aha moment when I made these fun little banners here. I used the stitched rectangle dies that look like this, and it has a double stitch on it. It's a great die set to have in your craft room. But I wanted to banner it where it has a little flag at the end, and because it has the stitches on it, I wanted to make sure that banner also had the stitches. So wait for this. This is awesome. What I ended up doing was taking the exact same die that I used to cut this out, and I turned it and put it through my die cutting machine, my Stampin' Cut and Emboss one more time. And I had it so it lined up so that my corners were being cut as well, and that had it going to the center. Isn't that so awesome? That was my aha moment. I did that also with this one, but I used the same shape that I had for my original rectangle. Super excited for that. That was a fun find. I think I probably have read that somewhere, but I've never actually done it, and it just came to me as I was creating this card yesterday. It's like, that would be really fun to have. So this one I've scored, so that way I could easily just wrap this around like that, and that's one way you can attach this part of the banner. However, you only want to put glue a little bit on the top and not all the way down the banner piece. So let me go ahead and add this one on. You know, I usually don't glue first. This is out of order. I usually will stamp, and we'll get to that in just a second. I want to make sure that dried a little bit. This one I did not do anything to. So what I could do is go ahead and cut it off right there with my paper snips. I could glue it on however I want. And you can kind of measure of how far you want that one to be and get a good idea. We're going to say right about there. And we'll just take one little quick snip across. And then we can add that on. Again, don't put glue all the way on that banner, just on the top, because we're going to slide in our centerpiece in just a little bit. If you want to glue those banner pieces down later on, you totally could. There we go. Those are looking pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and attach that while we have it here to our card base. This is a traditional one again. It's that 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. But we're going to turn it this way this time. Make sure when you're doing these that you are gluing it so that it opens up the right way and that you don't have an upside down Curvy Christmas card. I'm sure that would be really fun. But maybe not so much. So this one we're going to line up and cover up the whole front of the card. You can kind of see that right there. And again, we're just going to set it aside and let that one dry. And we're going to get ready to stamp. So I have 3 images on this Whisper White rectangle. We'll set it right there so you guys can see. And you're going to work your way from the bottom up. Let's grab everything that we need. So I used this one earlier, and I need to wipe it down and switch out my block. That's the thing I love about these clear blocks, is that I don't need a million of these. I can just replace it easily by taking it off, sticking it back in, and grabbing my next one. while we're in here, we're going to go ahead and grab our stars as well. Again, I just need to wipe down those trees so they're clean. When I'm stamping with red, I usually wipe it down right away because it does stain the block. It doesn't hurt the, not the block, sorry, it stains the stamp set, but it doesn't hurt it. It will stamp again and not transfer, so that's okay. All right, so those ones are ready to go. Oh, I do need my trees though too. We'll flip it. It'll be fine. So we're doing the Thinking of You at Christmas, and I'm grabbing the cherry cobbler. Just gonna go ahead and open that up and ink it up. We're going to go ahead and just put that on the bottom of our rectangle, right about there. Then we're going to come in with our trees, which I just put away, so we'll grab those again. But we'll just do it on the flip side of this block. And we will ink it up, though, in that shaded spruce. This card also required that heat embossing, and that's a pretty easy thing, but it requires a lot more product, and so that's why it's more of a avid stamper. For heat embossing, you have to have Versamark, the heating tool, and a powder, embossing powder. I always suggest white is a good place to start. Ooh, this looks pretty awesome. So I'm going to line up. You can see how the curve in my saying matches with my trees. So we'll just press it down like that. Awesome. You see how it follows along? I love it. Okay, let's get this one off and we'll do our stars. I'm using that same color from earlier, so I used just 3 ink colors today. The Daffodil Delight, the Shaded Spruce, and the Cherry Cobbler. I'm going to close these ones so I don't place a beautiful card into it later. Alright, so that's our Daffodil. And if you wanted to do an extra step, you could totally do this in embossing as well. Like a gold emboss with this one would look awesome right here for these stars. We're just going to ink it up though. And we're going to figure out if we want right about there. Love it. Isn't that pretty? Now, of course, you would take your Wink of Stella, and we're just going to color in some of these stars. We'll just squeeze a little bit of glitter out and get some of these stars filled in. Love it. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and mat it to our Cherry Cobbler. Just like that. Again, a avid stamper, even a casual stamper, likes their layers. And that matting is just about 1/8 inch off of the original rectangle. And just really adds to it. Makes that white pop even more. Alright, so now we're going to slide this in under these banners. We'll put some liquid glue on here, and then we'll work with our star. You guys are doing awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm almost done. All right. So we'll look on both sides to see, and you go a little bit higher, so that top and that bottom. And that looks pretty good. We'll lay that down. Again, you can leave these flags flying, or you can glue them down. Just depends on your preference. For our star, I use the brushed metallic foil, which is currently in our mini catalog. This is so pretty. It's hard to tell, but it has kind of like a stripes through it. Instead of like a very shiny foil, it has a little bit of texture to it, which I have really enjoyed working with. I'm going to go ahead and use my seal right here just to help me add these sprigs. So I'll hold my star up like this, and I'm going to have 2 sprigs on each end coming out, and I just line it up by looking from the front of it, and I stick it down in that sticky spot that I just layered in the back. We'll do the same thing for this one. You want one to be longer than the other a little bit. There we go. That looks good. Same over here. Put our sprigs down, and if their adhesive isn't sticking enough or not in the right spots, you can always use a glue dot as well. But just a second, you'll see my finger sticks to it. We're going to put some dimensionals on the back of here. Now that we know where we want those to be laid, we can double stick it by having some dimensionals over them. Kind of like that. Okay, we're almost there. You guys will have to let me know which card you like the best. Are you more of a beginner crafter and you like the simple and fast? Or are you a casual stamper and you like a little bit of layers, but you don't have all the crazy things yet? You only have a couple of punches and a couple dies. And in fact, a casual stamper is more likely to have punches than they are to have dies because it doesn't require a whole nother machine like the dies do. Punches are super easy and fast. That's right, I like this guy right here that we used earlier, the Banner's punch. All right, we're gonna stick our Merry Christmas and our stitched oval in the center of our star. And there you go. We'll have two beautiful Avid stamper cards. We also have our casual style cards, those trees, and our bow ones, and of course our beginners. So let me know which one is your favorite. Hopefully you guys have learned something new and have enjoyed this class with me today. Have a wonderful week. On stage starts for me tomorrow, so you'll hear a lot about that in the next couple of days. Have a wonderful time and happy stamping, everyone. Goodbye.